Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's 501c Drop. I'm Leah Simmons. I'm the CEO and co-founder of BetterUnite. It is my pleasure to welcome you all 2 weeks before Giving Tuesday. So we are right here at the very beginning of our end of year season of giving. And I know that you all are working hard. You have all worked very hard the entire year in this very, very odd year for nonprofits. And here we are in that final push. I am so happy that you took a minute to join me. And I want to talk to you today about donations, just like that very end transaction. As much as we talk about making sure that giving or philanthropy for your donors does not feel transactional, at some point, there is a transaction. And on Giving Tuesday, there are more than most other days. Most of the time on Giving Tuesday, our donations are going to come in as a lot of the time intended to be one-time donations. We are going to hope that we can upgrade or move some of those one-time donors into recurring donors. But regardless of what we end up doing with the donations, these micro donations are so vital, not only to each of you all and your individual nonprofits, but frankly, also to our sector. I don't know if you've taken a look at the most recent fundraising effectiveness project, some really fabulous information that comes out from the folks at actually Giving Tuesday and the Data Commons. BetterUnite is a contributor to this. They do an incredible survey every year around donations and giving. And that also lines up with Giving Institute and Giving USA's data, which all of it points to the fact that what we have, as much as we have in the US, increasing philanthropy, increasing total donations, what we do see is a reduction in the number of micro donors. So the small and micro donations that really can be a lifeline, particularly for small and mid-sized nonprofits, but frankly, for all of the nonprofits out there, those are, we're getting fewer and fewer of those. More and more of our donations are coming from these super large, ultra big donations. And, while of course it's wonderful and we want to get those donations in, we do want to see that overall number increase. Seeing our community support is also vital to the sector. So Giving Tuesday is a time that we can really lean into that and we really look at those donations. And that's why today here at BetterUnite, we've decided to partner with Stripe. Stripe is one of the payment processors that we integrate with. Stripe is an incredible fiduciary partner for your nonprofit for that last final transactional A to B. We need to get the donation from the donor to the organization. That is where our friends over at Stripe are going to step in and make that path as smooth as possible. So here we go. 2 weeks to Giving Tuesday, supercharging your donations with Stripe. Everybody knows that Giving Tuesday is really one of the biggest days of the year for fundraising. It actually is pretty hard to believe. It only started 13 years ago, but it has elevated the platform for philanthropy across the board. More and more people are following that trajectory of after Thanksgiving in the United States, we see Black Friday, then we see Cyber Monday, and finally we have Giving Tuesday. So we really want to, as nonprofit organizations, take advantage of the collective elevation of philanthropy and donating and supporting mission-driven organizations on this one singular day, which happens this year on December 2nd. So whether or not you are polishing a campaign you've worked on for the past 6 months, or you're maybe still pulling it together with those last-minute details, like no judgment at all, today is all about making sure that you are set up to capture donations quickly and securely and with as little friction as possible. That's really key here, because that's where Stripe and BetterUnite, we're going to come together to make a really powerful team. So what we want to talk about when we think about that, again, final moment, the moment of donation when I'm giving you my information and my credit card, let's talk about that donor experience. So we spend a lot of time talking about, the campaigns and the overall donor journey, or the actual donation page and the way that looks, and donate button above the fold and all the the words and the visuals and the videos that you have. We don't spend as much time talking about those final steps, though, that are key. We do see a lot of abandoned carts, which means that somebody came in, they began the process of making a donation, but they did not complete. Why did they not complete? The number one reason is going to be too much information was asked of them. So I came in, I had the intention of giving you a donation, whether it was $10, $100, $1,000, $10,000. And you asked for just too many details. I got distracted. We all know that our attention span, I think at this point, is collectively smaller than a goldfish's, and we can, be pulled in a different direction. An alert, a ping came up on my phone. 60% at a minimum of your donations are going to come in through mobile devices. That's actually going to be higher on Giving Tuesday. So we really want to make sure the mobile experience is completely optimized so that you get those donations in the door from the moment of intention through the moment of transaction. So on high traffic days like Giving Tuesday, you don't want supporters to get stuck, right? Stuck on a clunky form or some sort of confusing payment step or anything else that might slow them down. Like, I think of a clunky form as one that asks for too much information. On Giving Tuesday, speed is our priority. So do you really need to know their full address on a Giving Tuesday mobile donation form? You should also have, as you do with a BetterUnite account, the ability to optimize your web-based version, your desktop version versus your mobile version of your form. So we want to make sure that maybe on the desktop version, it looks a little bit differently, but on the mobile version, it's first name, last name, email address, maybe phone number if it's really necessary. Maybe it's an optional field. Maybe there are some conditional logic fields that if they are donating or purchasing a particular benefit to their donation, then you're asking a particular question. But again, I would try very hard to not make those component parts required, right? The option to have optional fields can be very, very huge so that I can easily skip past those pieces and get right to the meat of making my donation and clicking checkout. The goal is we want to make it easy for donors to say yes. Everyone's busy. Everyone's pulled in many directions on a Giving Tuesday in the very beginning of a holiday season. Frankly, Giving Tuesday does suffer from the fact that it is 2 days after we're all back to work after a long holiday weekend, typically in the US particularly. So, people are busy. They have a lot going on. We need them to be able to move through that final piece of the donation. You've won along the way. Don't snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. We want that last piece to be easy. And that's where, again, my friends at Stripe are going to come in and make that happen. On a BetterUnite donation form, you're actually never going to see Stripe. You might see that hook that says, link, so that it populates the data from somebody that has given on that device via Stripe before. That's wonderful. That actually speeds things up even more. But most of the time, there's really very little tell that this is happening through Stripe. It all looks like it's one seamless form. And that is the key, right? It needs to be seamless. It needs to feel frictionless, as though I just moved through this magical, very, very few clicks kind of thing. On my phone, on my device, right? And frankly, also on my laptop, my information is auto-populating. So it can and should be as fast and seamless as you can possibly make it for your guests, donors, sponsors, supporters, whatever they are, to complete their gifts. And I love Stripe for this, right? It's fast, it's secure, it's flexible. And then with BetterUnite, it all integrates very seamlessly. Now, I know some of you here are not BetterUnite users yet, and that's fine. Whatever tool you're using, I do hope that you're making it as simple and as easy as possible. And I'm hoping here to give you tips regardless of what tool you're using. But if you do hear me talking about some things that you don't see on the donation forms that you're providing, please do consider making a switch, BetterUnite or not. But these are very, very typical scenarios. And like I said, we're just kind of at this last moment. You've done everything else right. You got them to the goal line. So now let's let them move through. Again, sports references aren't my thing. So I got as close as I could. So reducing donor friction, though, it's going to come down to 3 different things. First of all, we want a clean, mobile-friendly donation form. I've already talked about this. I've touched on it, but we also need payment flexibility, and then we need trust and security. Those are so key. You all know as much as I do when you're interfacing with a web page or you're purchasing something. We kind of have these typical flows that we go through that we expect to see. Make your donation forms like that. Make them look the way that it looked the last time you checked out at Nordstrom or something like that. These for-profit companies have really, really worked hard, and they've, I always say steal from the best. They have worked hard and done an incredible job of streamlining that final steps. They want you, as much as we want those folks to donate, they want you to get through giving them money as quickly as possible. So with Stripe and with BetterUnite, your donors can use Apple Pay, Google Pay, they can use credit cards and ACH, even international cards, DAF payments, and they can also donate via stock. So Donate Stock is one of our integration partners. So any of these are opportunities within BetterUnite that, again, using your chosen platform, you might see that you can turn on and off in any given campaign page or donation form. My vote for a Giving Tuesday campaign would be have every option available to your donors. What do we care how they get their funds to us, right? We want them to feel like they are being taken care of. They've felt good all along the way, enough that they are parting with their treasure to give to your incredible mission and the hard work that you're doing. So now we want to make sure that we honor that trust at the last few clicks as they're making that donation. We want it to happen in as few clicks as possible. So we actually can detect BetterUnite can detect automatically what the device settings are so that we are offering up the fastest checkout path. So we're not going to offer up Apple Pay on a Google device and vice versa, but that's where that seamlessness of integration really comes into play. BetterUnite's also going to let you, and again, many other platforms do this, but we're going to let you embed your donation forms right onto your campaign page, or you're using a BetterUnite page or the page that you've built through whatever platform you're using. We want to make sure that we're also able to embed the donation form or page onto emails or landing pages. I mean, we're going to send out some beautifully branded emails on Giving Tuesday. I would really recommend also that you don't use QR codes on any of the emails you send, because again, we're going to see an uptick in mobile device use on Giving Tuesday. And on a regular day, 60 to 70% of all emails are opened on a mobile device. QR codes are useless on a mobile device. So skip the QR code, go straight to a click here, a big button, something like that takes people right to the checkout page. So from your emails, there is no reason for you to direct your donor to your landing page or to your full website. Take them right away to that checkout page. You got them in. They clicked the button in your email. Take them directly to the checkout form so that they then can make the donation. Now, on the checkout form, you can still beautifully show, images next to your CTAs, your calls to action. $15 does this for our nonprofit, $25 does this with an image. And so all of those things are available to you. You can continue to do those things even on the checkout form. But again, we want to lead with the form that they're going to fill out, because again, we got the click happened on the email in that scenario. So make sure that you're not redirecting, and there's no need for a back and forth. It's momentum, right? It all comes down to, like we talk about with our events, we want that beautiful momentum arc within events where people come in, they interact, they network, and then they're taken on a journey with your videos and your testimonials. And then the auctioneer has all of the energy in the room, and they make the asks for the fund needs, and then things kind of come down from there, right? So same goes on in a flow. For a donation, we've told the story, whether it was through the email, through a social post, through through on your website, on the landing page, however they got there. Maybe it's actually at an event. Stripe is actually absolutely my favorite tool, my favorite payment processor to use for events particularly. I'm going to circle back around and tell you why that is. But however they came to you, you want to make sure that the momentum drives them to completing the transaction when the donor is ready to give. So if you're already using BetterUnite and Stripe as a partnership, amazing. But I want to make sure as well that you're making the most out of what's built in. So as I mentioned, events with Stripe, using Stripe as your payment processor for your event. Not only are you going to have all of the checkout form that's a breeze, they're purchasing their donation, and then you've got all of the wonderful tech on the back end of your event tool where it's auto creating tables and it's doing all of those things, all of that amazing stuff. You're also going to have the opportunity at check-in with Stripe to do a tap to pre-authorize. They can also, if you've got the Stripe card reader, Bluetooth card reader, no cords required, very clean looking on your tables. They can use Apple Pay to pre-authorize a credit card, Google Pay as well. So just, I typically don't even bring credit cards with me anymore. I'm only bringing my phone anywhere that I go and my ID. So I can use my phone to pre-authorize my credit card. I can use my credit card on a mobile device that's being utilized as a check-in station. So if I'm using my phone and I have the BetterUnite app up and I'm checking people in, when I get to the pre-authorized credit card, I can say use tap to pay. And I just hold my phone out. They lay their card on top of my phone. It reads the card. It is a beautiful experience, actually kind of like glitters and is very, very pretty. So Stripe's done an incredible job there as well. The consistency of Stripe and the variability and all of the different things that we can accomplish with the check-in process at an event makes hands down Stripe your winner when it comes to check-in. I also mentioned trust. So you will see on a checkout form that there are, Stripe badges and there's information about the privacy and security. And that's brought into you by BetterUnite, but it's backed by Stripe as well. And if again, for those of you using BetterUnite and Stripe, you've gone through this, but as you are setting up your account within Stripe, within BetterUnite, within Stripe, so it's a Stripe Express account, you are being asked a series of validation questions. And those questions are essential. And Stripe really does the work of validating and making sure that a 501c3 organization is what it says. It's going to make sure that your tax EIN status matches what the IRS says it should. And so we need that trust. We need that verification process so that your donors know that they can trust what they're seeing and where their dollars are going. Enabling Apple Pay and Google Pay in your Stripe dashboard, if you haven't yet, that makes giving lightning fast. As I said, I'm very rarely anywhere with a credit card anymore. I might have it, on my phone. I do have it, auto populating from my phone, but being able to accept those Apple Pay and Google Pay is really no longer an option. We really need to have that at every checkout experience. And another thing that your donation forms can and should offer, and I did an entire webinar about this, I think it was just last week, so if you haven't taken a look at it, go do so. Recurring donations. Giving Tuesday is an incredible day to really work towards getting those recurring donors, and also to taking the one-time donors that you secure on Giving Tuesday and trying to kind of upgrade them to a recurring donor. And the very first step in doing that can be the acknowledgement letter, the acknowledgement email that they'll receive and automated right after the donation. You can, have a CTA there that asks them to consider making their gift a monthly donation to the organization. Prior to that, though, however, and this happens both in the embeddable forms as well as in the full campaign form, you can ask your donors to first consider a monthly donation so that they're required kind of to switch to the one-time donation. I'm sure that many of you have seen this and you've moved through it yourself. It's very easy. It's not insulting in any way to the donor. They understand. Really, we sometimes, I think, don't give our donors enough credit. They understand that we as nonprofit organizations require the funding and the support of our community, and that it is on them, it's on our community to step in and envision the world that they want. And that, when you've gotten them to that final place where they're actually moving through making a donation to your organization, you've won them over. They believe enough in the vision and the mission of your nonprofit to fund it with their hard-earned dollars, with their money. So asking them to consider a monthly donation is in no way an insult. As a matter of fact, I would argue that it is a fiduciary responsibility of the nonprofit to try to secure as much funding and to make sure that the donor is doing what they want to do with your organization. And that could be giving a monthly donation, but hadn't really thought of it until they got to that point. So Stripe handles all of that really seamlessly. And then BetterUnite on your side, on our side, gives donors easy controls so that you can manage, you can update cards on file, you can alert your donors to lapsed payments, you can also alert donors to donations that have failed. You can automate all of this as well so that none of it comes as a surprise. It's called dunning, actually. None of this comes as a surprise to your team. You're able to, automate that we're going to retry 3 times, and then we're going to send this message in particular, and then you're going to put them into a workflow so that we get a donor touch to somebody that hasn't been able, we haven't been able to process their payment. And maybe that's an opportunity for an upgrade too. So we don't always have to think of it as, a failed credit card all the time, right? Your card's numbers change. There's whatever happens. There's a million reasons why cards might not process. And we want to be able to, if at best, capitalize on that situation and encourage somebody to maybe consider increasing their gift. Processing fees. So of course, Stripe, just like every other tool out there, has payment processing fees, transaction fees. These are things that we simply can't get away from. And you have the flexibility using Stripe and BetterUnite as a combination. And again, this is always true with many different products. You're going to be able to decide, does the donor cover the fee or does the organization? And with BetterUnite, you're going to be choosing around 2 fees typically, because we've got the BetterUnite fee and the Stripe fee, and you can pass one on to the donors and cover the other yourself. You can cover both. You can pass both on. You can make that mandatory. You can make it optional. You can make it optionally 0, and then the donor can opt in. You can have them opting out. I mean, the flexibility is really ridiculous, I think, sometimes at this point, but that flexibility makes it so that you can really customize every single campaign. There may be those campaigns where covering the fees is just it's not even a thing. You're just going to automatically kind of force it onto the donors. There's certainly campaigns where maybe it's smaller donation amounts, or maybe it's very large donation amounts where you don't even want to ask the donors. You're going to, as an organization, cover it. The software costs are very inexpensive. Stripe is free, except for those transaction fees. So we want to really consider giving our donors agency here so that they can make some of the decisions. But of course, every organization, every nonprofit is different. You're going to choose what works best for you in each individual situation. I think that's kind of the key that I want to impart to you. I mean, we really want to get the maximum amount of dollars to your nonprofit that's possible. And please don't forget the custom thank you page. So it's an underrated place, it's an underrated place to build goodwill, to offer next steps, and even to upsell recurring giving or peer-to-peer invites. So what I mean is, once the donor has processed the payment, the next phase, the confirmation page, that's what they're going to see. Take a minute on that, customize it, let it look the way that you want it to. Express gratitude, of course. Absolutely. Maybe there's a thank you video that you include, but also give your donors other opportunities to engage. Maybe it's an opportunity for them to volunteer. Maybe it's a sign up for our newsletter. There's a lot of things that people might see on that final page that not only builds the goodwill. Remember, we're thinking of the donor as the hero, and our organization is the hero's weapon. So we want to reinforce that idea, that turn of visual to, in that last moment, in that final moment, you get what you mean it's not your final moment. You get another opportunity when you get to the acknowledgement, but the the second to last one is that confirmation page. And again, just take some time. Make sure that it looks the way that you want it to look to your donors. That actually brings me to a few things I would like to flag for you so that you can avoid scrambling the night before Giving Tuesday, the evening of December 1st. First is test your donation flow. Test. If there's one thing that I could impart to anybody ever using BetterUnite, always, and or frankly, any software, anytime, please test. Before we recorded these webinars, we tested our software around the webinar. Every time you're going to, and frankly, we tested it a lot. So every time you're going to interact with your donor in a digital manner, go through it yourself, move through it yourself. Did you update your link tree on Instagram to make sure that that your Giving Tuesday call to action is at the very top? Did you, so check all of the different places where donors might interact with you, but particularly move through the donation flow. So make a one $5 donation to your organization. You can refund yourself if you need to. A small test doesn't cost much in fees. BetterUnite will refund the fees, any fees that happen on refunds. So you can always check it, and also check the mobile view. Please. Mobile view, very, very important for your Giving Tuesday gifts and flow. Take a look at those required fields. I hope I've imparted to you that fewer is better. Frankly, always, but on Giving Tuesday particularly, we're really asking people to, pause midstream as they've moved back into a work week and, move through this donation. Maybe it's peer pressure because they've seen, everybody else on Facebook is engaging with these posts. Whatever it is, that's fine by me. I don't care. Peer pressure works, right? However it is that we're getting them into the fold of our organization, what you do from there is up to you. But we don't want to stop them by asking them too many questions. Nobody wants to feel like they are being questioned, and certainly not before they complete this act of goodwill, which is giving you the donation. So fewer fields equals more completions. Missing confirmation or thank you messages. So we want to make sure that our donors are going to get the immediate affirmation that their gift went through. That's that confirmation page. That's the automated email that they receive. It can be personalized. It can have conditional logic. It can have custom text fields. All of these things make it speak more clearly to the donor, but we want them to know that their donation occurred, it happened, it's secured, and we're grateful for it. Right? And those are our opportunities to do that. And make sure that all of your connections are good and working before Giving Tuesday. So if you're offering DAF payments through Chariot, if you're collecting stock donations through Donate Stock, if you're offering double the donation and employer matching, make sure that everything is set up so that there are no surprises. Move through all of these pieces yourself so that you can see what the donors are going to see. And a couple of questions that I've got. I actually have one here in the chat, but I'm going to go through a few that I logged here before we started talking. And by the way, if you have any other questions as I'm completing this, please put those into the chat field or in the Q&A section. Actually, it's just a chat field. My clever software here is going to note if it's a question and throw it into the Q&A for me. If you have any questions about what I'm talking about and you're watching the recording, please do email support@betterunite.com. You can also email me directly, Leah, Leya, my name spelled weird, at betterunite.com, Leah@betterunite.com. I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you might have. So here's my first question that I had pre-logged. Do you need to do anything in Stripe before Giving Tuesday? I mean, and it's a legitimate question. But if your Stripe account is already connected to BetterUnite, then you're good to go. You're going to double check that your bank account is verified and that your Apple Pay and your Google Pay options are turned on. So those are the only pieces that I would make sure that you're going to take a look at. So you're just going to go down to your funding information on your BetterUnite campaign. And it's called different things in different software systems, and make sure that the Stripe connection doesn't say something like needs attention, or, if there's any problem at all, you're going to get a big bright red warning. And then you're just going to click through into your Stripe account and resolve any questions that might be outstanding. And typically those are, give us the bank account information so that Stripe knows where to send you your money. Can I use Stripe for events or peer-to-peer? Good question. 100%. As I mentioned earlier, events, favorite hands down tool for processing donations through your events, particularly when there's pre-authorizations that are involved. Stripe covers really literally everything across BetterUnite. So ticketing, sponsorships, peer-to-peer fundraising, your auctions, even your volunteer pages where we give people an opportunity to make a donation if they can't volunteer. All of it is all streamlined through the single payment engine. You can also choose PayPal with BetterUnite, and PayPal is a great option if you're looking to collect Venmo donations. But again, for those events and auctions, I would really, really lean into Stripe. That is by far, hands down, always our number one recommendation. All right, here's my question. What's the difference? I teed you up for this perfectly. What's the difference between Stripe and PayPal? So it's a great question. Both of them are very secure. Stripe does, like I said, the main difference I would say is Stripe offers more flexibility, particularly for events, some things around recurring donations and mobile checkout. Those, for Giving Tuesday, sometimes that might be faster. Those are really the kind of main, differentiating factors for that. All right. I don't see any other questions, but again, if you have any other questions, please do send an email over to us, support@betterunite.com, or to me, Leah, Leya, at betterunite.com. Happy to get back to you. I've had a couple of questions from our recurring giving moves management webinar, and I was so excited. Actually, I came up with some other things that we're looking at. So I really do love getting the questions and entering into dialogue with all of you. You can also follow me on LinkedIn. I'm Leya Simmons, and you'll find me there. Pretty simple. So Giving Tuesday, you guys, it is your moment. It is a moment for you to rally your community. And with the right tools, you can make every single click count, right? That's what we're looking for here. So let me jump back into my presentation here and tell you that, if you have, I've mentioned it several times, if you've got, you're not using BetterUnite just yet, you're interested in exploring how BetterUnite and Stripe can support your mission and the work that you're doing, please take a look at, BetterUnite. Let us show you around. We would love to provide a personalized demo for you. So you can email support@betterunite.com, betterunite.com/request demo, or scan that QR code. We will take care of that and move you right into fundraising with all of the most advanced tools at your disposal. And I do want to pitch or tell you about our next 501c drop webinar. That's going to happen next Tuesday, where we will be 1 week away from Giving Tuesday on the 25th, right before Thanksgiving. Join me for end of year giving. As you know, Giving Tuesday just launches us right into the last month of the year, where over 30% of all donations in the United States are made within that final month. So don't miss out on that action. There are some really wonderful key strategies that I'm going to talk to you about, ways that you can energize your supporters, your base, and secure the funding that you might need for the next year. So go ahead, scan the QR code. I'm going to drop it into the chat. We'll also link it if you're watching the video, the recording. And let's see, what else do we have? Thanks for joining us. That's really it. Let me know if there's anything else that you might need to hear about or that you want to know. I am always so excited and honored that people are joining me in the 501c drop. It's so much fun. I love talking about this. If you've got suggestions or topics or things that you would love to see covered, people that you'd like to see me chat with, let me know. We're always open. We've got a really wonderful opportunity here to bring us together as a community, a philanthropic community, going out and doing a whole lot of good. So with that, I'm not going to say happy Thanksgiving, because I actually will see you one more time, but get geared up, get ready for Giving Tuesday, and let's go do some good.